We have built a theory. We have designed institutions. But here's the most critical assertion for today. A society that is perfectly just on paper but makes people miserable in reality is a failed society. Rawls knew that if justice feels like a heavy burden or a constant sacrifice, people will eventually stop following the rules. This leads us to the final test of his philosophy: stability. How do we make sure that being a good person and being a happy person are the same thing? Rawls calls this congruence. In the beginning, we talk about people in the original position as rational calculators looking out for their own interests. But by the end, Rawls reveals a more profound truth. Humans are deeply social beings. He said, "It is a feature of human sociability that we are by ourselves but parts of what we might be. We must look to others to attain the excellences that we must leave aside or lack altogether. The collective activity of society, the many associations, and the public life of the largest community that regulates them, sustains our efforts and elicits our contribution. No one person can do everything that he might do, nor a fortiori can do everything that any other person can do. The potentialities of each individual are greater than those he can hope to realize, and they fall short. They fall far short of the powers among men generally." He argues that our sense of justice is actually an extension of our natural feelings of love and trust. Think about your best friend or a family member. When you help them, do you pull out a calculator and ask, "What's in it for me?" I want to ask the group, why does it feel good to be fair to someone, even if you could have gotten away with just cheating them? Is it just because you're afraid of the police, or is there something deeper happening? It feels like I'm being true to who I am, you might say. Cheating someone feels like I'm failing myself, not just the law, you might say again. Exactly, that is congruence. Rawls suggests that in a just society, acting fairly becomes part of your identity. To act unjustly isn't just breaking a rule or breaking a law. It's a betrayal of your own nature as a free and rational being. This leads to one of the most beautiful passages in modern philosophy. Rawls says that when we act with justice, we see our lives sub specie aeternitatis, from the perspective of eternity. Now, don't let the fancy Latin scare you. He's not talking about religion or heaven. He's talking about a form of thought. Consider the indigenous seventh generation principle. Some cultures believe that every decision made today must result in a sustainable world 7 generations into the future. That is the perspective of eternity. It's about seeing yourself as one part of a massive intergenerational chain of human beings. As Rawls said, the perspective of eternity is not a perspective from certain place beyond the world. Rather, it is a certain form of thought and feeling that rational persons can adopt within the world. Purity of heart, if one could attain it, would be to see clearly and to act with grace and self-command from this point of view. However, Rawls isn't just a dreamer. He is a realist. He admits that there will always be people, he calls them unfortunate, whose nature is simply at odds with justice. These are people who, for whatever reason, only care about themselves. For them, we still need penal devices, laws and punishments. But his point is that in a truly just society, we won't need many police officers. Why? Because of publicity and trust. When I see that you are following the rules, it makes me want to follow them too. Justice becomes a self-strengthening cycle. Let's practice this perspective of eternity. If you had to pass one law today that would cost you 5% of your income, but would guarantee that 100 years from now, every child in our country has a college education, would you do it? If yes, does doing that make you feel like you've lost something? Or does it make you feel like you are part of something eternal? That feeling of being part of a social union is what Rawls calls the highest expression of human freedom.